everyone. Welcome back again to Lit Talk Edition 12. So today we have our honorable and special guest, an inspiring author and writer. So we such a grateful to meet you here, and we such a thank you that we had a privilege to have you here.
Yeah, before we begin, let me introduce myself. My name is Naswa Chandra Fahria, and
I'm Arshila Audia Pradiani.
we are student from Wan Sedayu Senior High School.
And we must to say sorry at first because we are still students, so we still learning English. I hope you could understand if our English is not
I
perfect.
understand you very well.
Thank you so much. And before we dive into our conversation, could you please introduce yourself to our audience?
Okay. So my name is Rob Waring. I am a teacher at Thammasat University, which is in Bangkok. I teach in the graduate school there. Yeah. So I'm in Bangkok right now. If you can look out of the window, you can just see
Wow.
Bangkok is outside there. Yeah. It's a bit bright, but you can see it.
That's
And so,
wonderful.
so I'm in Thammasat University here as a visiting professor. But before then, I was teaching in Japan for about 30 years, teaching at a women's university there.
Wow.
And I'm on the board of the Extensive Reading Foundation. So, as you know, extensive reading is the idea that students should read lots and lots of books for pleasure. And I've known your teacher, Martini, for, I don't know, several years now. We're old friends. And hopefully I can meet her next week at Teflon. So there's a conference next week. So anyway, that's me. If you have any more questions, feel free to ask. Anything's fine.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
We want to say thank you so much for Extensive Reading Foundation for helping us to get so many books. You see in our library, so many books. So we are really, really thankful of that.
That's great.
Like I heard from Miss Mar, like a week ago you were in Japan. Could you tell me what your currently activity?
Okay. So, yes, we were in Japan. We had what's called a World Congress. Congress is a kind of fancy word for conference. World Congress on Extensive Reading, which was in Hokkaido in the North Island of Japan. And we were there for 3 days talking, and we had about 400 people from all over the world came. And next week, there's going to be a conference in Malang, near Surabaya. Yeah, there's going to be a conference there on general language teaching. So teachers from all over Indonesia, from all over the world, are going to come. So I will be there, and so I'll be there for about 4 or 5 days, or so. No, 7 days. The reason for that is because before the conference on the 6th and the 7th, I'm going to be training teachers about how to write those books that you have in front of you. So I've written or edited around 350 of those books.
Impressive.
So a lot of books.
Yeah. So I'm now needing to train teachers and other people to be able to do that, because Indonesia needs a lot more books like that. The problem is that Indonesia has 17,000 islands. And if you print books, it's very, very difficult to get books into every student's hand.
Yes, it's true.
Because it's really
expensive.
Big.
Yeah. And so it's also expensive. If you have a school of, say, 1,000 students, you're going to need 5,000 books. 5,000 books costs a lot of money. And with all those schools in Indonesia, it's very expensive for the government. So I'm working with groups of people from universities in Indonesia to write books to give away to students, probably through a digital platform. So that's my big project at the moment, is to write books or help teachers write books for students. But there's a similar project that I'm doing in Thailand and another one in Vietnam. So this sort of next 5 years of my life will be all about writing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds more books, maybe thousands.
Wow.
Oh my God, we are so impressive about your big project. So we hope
Oh,
it
I
was
won't do the writing
very-
myself. There'll be lots of helpers.
Oh, yeah, but it was when we listen and we hear, it was like so impressive. Like
Yeah.
written a lot of books, and we hope like you will be success on your big project also in Indonesia.
Thank you.
And we
Yeah.
want to talk about writing. So, how did you first start writing stories since you have a lot of books?
Yeah, you write a
Mm.
lot of books.
Okay, so some years ago, I became interested in extensive reading and I realized the benefits of it. But as I was teaching in my university, I found that the materials which were available at the time were suitable for my students because they're university students and English majors. Therefore, there were lots of good materials. But the problem was that how do you get students which are very low in ability, just starting their English career, to start to read? And so, hello, Martini, how are you? And I can see her on the camera there. And so the difficulty was, how do you get students who are just beginning their career? And there was not much suitable material for them. So I decided, well, I have to write it. So I have a lot of experience in understanding vocabulary acquisition, how people learn words, which kind of words students know, what kind of words they meet. And so I decided I wanted to write these books. Now, at the time, a very good friend of mine is a publisher in the UK, I beg your pardon, in the USA. At that time, they were called Thomson, then they became Hindley, now they become Cengage. I don't know what the publisher's name is on the back of that book. It might be Thomson or Hindley on the back of not maybe that at the back of the book. You should be able to see the name at the bottom.
Is that the Thompson one? The Foundation
Thomson,
Reading
yeah.
Library? Yeah.
Right. So
Oh.
that's the one many years ago. So he was my friend. So we said, please write these books. So over a period of 2 years, I wrote these books. But that was the reason to get into it, because I saw a gap. I saw a gap in the syllabus for students who couldn't start to read extensively because there wasn't the material. And
Yeah.
there is a lot of material which is marketed as being quite easy, but a lot of it actually is not that easy when you look at it carefully. So I wanted to write these stories to make sure that the vocabulary and the grammar come again and again and again and again and again at each level, so that the language gets stronger and stronger in the student's head. So when they've read several books at level 1, they can move to level 2, read several books at level 2, move up to 3, 4, 5, right? So they're all very, very, very carefully written, those particular books in front of you. Yeah. But I've written other series as well. I don't know if you have any books in the Page Turner series. Do you have some Page Turner books with you?
Yes, after
Those
this,
are
we
those
want
are
to
those are
discuss.
those are foundations, yeah. But there's
Yeah.
several, yeah. Anyway, so that's how I got into writing the books.
Yeah, actually, we understand what your intention to write the books. Like, also, we have a similar problem here. Like, we have a lot of books, but our student, like, there is in school, they don't much going to library, so we need to persuade them. But we keep trying, but yeah, it's still hard to get, since like not many people, not many students could understand English, even though it was like a level 1, but they still like, oh my God, I'm afraid. What if I couldn't understand about the book? So that is why me as literacy delegation, so I asked my friend whether they want to go to the library. Could you want to read this book? We are sharing the books, but they kept often like, oh, I'm so sorry. I think I'm not be able to speak English. That is why the biggest problem in our school.
Yeah,
So do you have any advice to persuade them to going to library and yeah, at least borrow a book, because it's still hard to hear.
because like a lot of
Okay.
students like scared if they can't make it or they can't learn English.
Even though Miss
Okay.
Martini often asks
Yeah.
us to going to library, like, yeah, please get your free time and reading.
Yeah.
She often told
Yes.
us to reading,
Yes.
but it's still
And she's
hard for
quite
us.
right. Quite right. The problem that you get, I think, is that in the previous learning experience of the students, they have got what's called learned failure. And by that I mean is they've used a course book or textbook, and in a typical course book, we have a short passage of, say, 200 words. And then we have comprehension questions, maybe some vocabulary questions, and so on. And because it's in the course book, the idea is that the book is trying to teach new language, new grammar, maybe some new vocabulary, and therefore, pardon me, naturally, it's going to be difficult because that's the aim of the book. The problem then is that because it's difficult, students, and you're trying to learn something, the students feel that when they read in English, reading in English equals difficult because
Yeah.
that's the kind of reading they have only ever done. So if you approach them and say, you want me to read the whole book, it's like, what? The whole book? It's got 2,000, 3,000 words in it. They
Yes.
expect it's going to be difficult. They expect it's going to have difficult vocabulary. And they expect to feel when they finish the book, oh my gosh, that was difficult. I didn't understand. And that's what we call learned failure. And the reason that they feel that way is because the material that they're trying to learn from is not really designed for reading. It's really designed as a way to introduce some language. So you may have a passage about, I don't know, let's say future technology. And when the writer of the course book is writing that text for the course book, they will, of course, be using words like will or be going to, and they would use words of technology. So the reason for writing the text is not really about helping students to read. It's really about here's the new grammar, here's the vocabulary, so that students naturally feel that it's difficult. So the way out of this cycle is to put something in front of the students which is like super easy for them that they can read without a dictionary. And if you were to give them the very earliest level book, I think maybe they would do that. And this, I think, is what Bu Martini's doing, is trying to give them some early books. If you try to persuade them, just go to the library, there are two problems with that. The first is, before they go to the library, they have this idea, I'm not going to do well with the reading because their previous reading experience is difficult. That's the first problem. So it's like saying to someone, please eat this food you don't like, right? So no, thank you, I'm not going to, right? So that's one problem. So I think just persuading them to go to the library is not really enough. What you need to do is to bring the library to the students. So choose only easy books from the library and bring them in. Don't bring the difficult stuff. Do it nice and easy. But also find the easiest book that you can find, and maybe the teacher or you can just show it, maybe take some pictures, put it up on a PowerPoint, and just show everybody and do the reading as a class together. Something super easy, something that's lots of pictures. So some of the low-level books, say the low-level level 1 books, that's level 5, I think you've got there. That's Serena. So some of the level 1 books, you can understand the story probably just from the pictures. You probably don't need to read the text. And that gives confidence to people to feel that they can actually turn the pages of a book, and by the end of the book, they can read. So I would start with something simple, do some fun activities with it. So, for example, you might say, let's look at the cover. What do you think the story is going to be about? Okay, let's look at the characters. How do you pronounce the characters' names? Okay, now let's read the first page, the second page. What's happening? Who's this person? What's that person? Okay, what's going to happen next? Let's turn the page, blah, 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 and go through the story. And just before the end of the story, you say, okay, how's it going to end? How's it going to end? What do you think? And therefore, they'll be thinking, I think it's going to end this way. So, okay, let's turn the page and find out. And therefore they find out. And so by then, after the reading, you can then discuss with them. So what did you think of the story? Did you like what Tom said? Did you enjoy what Dingo did? Da, 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 da. So in that way, it becomes more engaging. It doesn't feel like school, if you know what I mean. It feels more like fun. And I think doing that a few times with the class is going to be really important. Yeah. So trying to persuade, just go to the library. There's other ways to do it. Bring the easy library to the students. That's much easier, I think, right?
Yes, but I think I also remember that actually they have a different mindset with us. Like, so basically our English lesson, mostly we talk and we learn about our theoretical, like, you know, some kind of grammarly and about the passage, we understand about blah, blah, blah. But they are not really clearly understand what I'm supposed to do. Like, so there is a basically story, but they don't understand. They just like going about the dictionary, the translate, but they are not really be able how to speak, how to write, how to listen, and that is why I think the biggest problem is that like their mindset and those kind of activities in classes that might still be solving the problem. So
I think it's the other way around. I think it's the other way
Yes,
around.
they
So
just think
what
like,
I mean is, if they have to use a dictionary and if they have to struggle with it, they're reading the wrong material. So we need to make sure that the material that they've got is easy and achievable. The reason that they struggle, the reason they have to use a dictionary is the person who chose the material has chosen something too difficult for them. So that's a problem with the choice of the material, not with the student. The problem is not with the student, it's about the person who's chosen the material for the student. Whether the student's chosen themselves, whether it's you chosen, or whether the school has chosen. So to solve that problem, you need to go back and then find out what can they actually read. That doesn't mean they need a dictionary, right? So the problem is not the student. The problem is the material's too difficult.
yeah,
right?
it's true.
Right. So if
Like
I give
so
you
many-
a high level physics book to read, like, oh, I can't read this,
Oh
right?
my God,
And that's the problem with the
no.
material, right? So it's the
Yeah.
problem
Yeah,
of the
it's true,
choice
it's
of the material, not a problem with the student. The student can only do what the student can do, right? If I
Yeah,
say
it's true.
run 100 meters in 10 seconds, you can't do that, right?
Yeah.
So it's impossible to expect that. So we have to change the expectation. Okay, run 100 meters in 15 seconds. Okay, I can do that, right? So you have to make sure that the reading is at the right level for the students. That's critical.
Yes, that was the problem.
If they
Since
use their
our-
dictionary, the material's too difficult.
Yeah, because our examination, like basically like a national examination, it was like in B2 grade, like most of
Yes,
them
yes.
could not understand it. So that is why
Of
the
course.
biggest problem is they don't have like a capability to get the B2 grade, even though they are still learning. That is why I think it's hard to encourage them to go here. Since they are don't understand about anything.
And
Yeah.
maybe like the student like took interest about the material that got
So
Yes.
yeah.
So
like,
this is why students should choose books at the level that they want. So I don't know how many books you have. Quite a lot, I
We
think,
have a
right? So
lot.
there
there's
should be
a lot actually.
about how many? 100, 200, 300, 500
Oh,
books? Do you know?
there is
30,
in
30,
our
150. The
Wow.
book is about
Okay.
150.
That's great. Yeah, that's a lot of books. So there
Yeah,
should
and-
be something there for them.
Mm.
So, but very, very beginning level learners who are just struggling with the starting of English, they probably need to have language which is very controlled language. By that, I mean that the same patterns come again and again and again and again. Like something like the easiest books are things like, I like dogs, I like books, I like pizza, I like mum, right? Something like that, right? Those kind of pattern books are really useful. If you have some of those, the advantage of that is that the repeated pattern helps them to recognize the pattern a lot. So if you have those kind of books, great. But the problem is always going to be that you have to make sure that it's easy for the student. And it's not your decision what's easy. As a teacher,
Yes.
if you're giving your friend what's easy to you might not be easy to them. What's interesting to you might not be interesting to them. So it's always up
Yeah.
to the student. Can you read this without a dictionary? That's the question. Can you read it without a dictionary? Good. Read on. Can you read without a dictionary? No. Try and find something easier. Can you read it without a dictionary? No, but I want to read it. Let them have it.
Thank you so much for your advice. Like we really
Pleasure.
understand it now
Yeah, it's
about
really
the
hard.
problem. So yeah, we could I hope our friends going here and could understand more.
Try
Like
to learn English.
It's definitely student choice. If you're saying to someone, you should read this, the problem is you don't know if they can read it or not. And if you try to make them read something they can't do, you're just going to make that negative feeling stronger because you're going to be saying, you're going to be with such enthusiasm, say, please read this, please read this. They read it and they notice your enthusiasm. They want to help. They want to do that, but then they don't. It's like, I know that they want me to, but I notice the difference between my friends and myself, and they start to feel negative. And you say, read another book. It's like, no, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. Right?
yeah, it's really true.
So
Yes.
it's very easy for you to be too enthusiastic that doesn't quite meet their level. So the key is always let them decide what they like to read. Let them decide what is the level. And then hopefully things will go. So one thing I would suggest you do is if you want to persuade your students to read, try and find a really, really easy book that you think the weakest student in your class will understand, right? Maybe the bottom 10% of the students will understand. And then
level one.
maybe,
Yeah.
level one, exactly. Read that book to the class. Do it as a class reading together. Maybe you could put it up on the screen or take pictures, put it on PowerPoint. Read through the book with that. So it's super easy for everybody, even for the people at the bottom. And maybe some of them will say, oh, actually, that was fine. You could say, did you need a dictionary?
Yeah.
No.
People got
See,
interested.
this is the type of book you need. Yeah.
Yes, we got it
So,
now.
Do a demonstration for your fellow students. That's the way to help them.
Okay, thank you
Okay, so much for your advice. And now we
Pleasure.
want to discuss about these two books that we choose. Like
Praise
yeah.
Golden
this
Monkey. Yeah.
is the one is Where's Lorena with level 5,
And the Golden Monkey
Level
with
7.
level 7. Yeah.
of this book is your book. So yeah, we want to discuss about it. So first, I was reading this book and I would say you are a really successful writer because you can make the audience like me felt mad about during reads the books. Like this is a conflict between the brother and sister, Alex and Lorena. Like when I read this, I feel like, wow, what kind of the story is this? And it was so interesting to read. And
Do you
but
know
after
the
that-
message of the story? Do you know the message of the
Yes.
story? What's the
yes,
message?
I do. Like when I read this, even though they are still like they had a conflict at first because their mom is strict. I don't know what kind of reason that made his mom like that. But
Well,
actually, I get the relationship between the Alex and Lorena in the end. When after Lorena disappeared and gone, like Alex kept hugging her. So that is why I felt touched when I read this. Yes.
It's a story
That
about
was mine.
responsibility. It's a story about being
Yes.
responsible. So Alex is supposed to be responsible. He doesn't want to be responsible. He wants to play with his kids, with his friends. So he takes Elena to the park, and all he cares about is his friends, right? He's not being responsible. And he
Yes.
pays a price by losing his sister. But his sister, who's younger, is responsible. She knows what to do, right? She knows how
Yes,
to get
it's true.
home, right?
She
It's
calls
a
it
story
the police.
about being responsible. And so I think that's the kind of message that sometimes we have responsibilities to other people. And the reason at the beginning of the story that his mum is trying to push Alex to do something is because there's
we
probably a
believe that.
history. There's a history of Alex not being responsible in the past. So mum's like, hey, be responsible, right?
Oh,
And of
that
course
is
he's not.
why. That is
Yeah.
why his mom is prohibit him to going out.
Yes, he's been a bad boy in the
okay.
past.
Oh, it's a bad boy.
Oh, Alex. And I do wonder, like, you have a lot of books that you've written, but for this first Lorena, why you choose this, like, write a story about brother and sister relationship? Why?
Well, because many of the students who are reading these books have brothers and sisters. And
Yeah, yeah.
the main idea of the series, it's 42 books, and many of the characters come again and again and again. The idea is to try and build up this idea of a group of students who were in school who were very similar to you, about the similar kind of age, experiencing the kinds of things that you do, the kind of issues to do with responsibility or fairness or cheating or making silly decisions, making rash decisions.
Yeah.
All of this comes out in the story, which is very typical of teenagers. So I wanted you to kind of identify with these stories and think, oh, yeah, that happened to me, or that happened to my friend, or I have to be
that's
careful
something
about
to
this. Right?
Related
But
stories. Yeah,
it's
I
not
get your point.
the stories are not trying to say do this. You experience it by reading the story and think, maybe I need to be, think about this, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And you had the
like-
other story, the golden.
Yeah, yes.
I really like this because from the start I was a big fan of Detective Conan.
Yes.
So
It's a really good book. It's really a good story to read.
thank you
Good,
so
I like
much
good, you
for
like my
taking
pleasure.
me this book. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And I wanna ask like something from the book. So I wanna ask like, why did you choose to write an adventure story instead
of another topic like brother and sis.
Why?
It's
Okay.
different.
So that the story you've got there, the Golden Monkey, actually, when I was writing the stories or coming up with the series, one of the things that you'll notice, I don't know if you actually notice that some students do, some students don't, that if you read many of the stories, you will see that in some scenes in the background, there's a picture from another book.
Oh yeah, it is. Like let's party, do it.
Yes,
My mom
right.
did a movie
But
star.
what I'm saying is, if you look at it, do you have a book called The Big Test? If you do, if you have that book, there's a scene from that book in another book. So what's that shows is that the two
the
stories
same
are
universe.
yes,
Oh.
it's exactly
There
the same
have
school.
differences between
So
one and
once
another book.
right. So the picture of two students doing something is in the background of another book. Right? Anyway, so the point here is that so the point here is that there's a kind of universe that I'm trying to work with. And so the idea is to try and make sure that this feels like a cohesive set of stories. There's about 10 different images are taken from one story, and they're also in a different book.
Oh, it's
So
really
go and look for them. So, and when I was writing the series, I was trying to think of how we can do this more. And what I wanted for the very last story, which is the story that you've got in the series, which is the Golden Monkey. The reason for that was I wanted to have the very last book as a kind of reward for reading the series, where there's going to be little pictures that come from many of the books, from many of the other books. And I wanted it to have a kind of not only individual stories, but a kind of story that goes through the 42 books.
Yeah.
And that was the original idea, but actually I couldn't get it to work. Anyway, so the reason for that story was to try to have a kind of that was going to be the final story in a big story across the series. But it didn't work. Never mind. Maybe. I'm actually going to be writing a new series of these books in the next year or two. Yeah.
What
topic?
What kind of topic? Like,
very similar to that. Very, very similar to the stories that you've got there. Yeah, but I won't be able to. I will probably write them, and they'll be available digitally because the artwork is very, very expensive. It cost $500,000 for the art for that series.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, so I'm working on that right now with some colleagues. So we'll get there. We need more books.
And maybe I will want to ask something like, what's the message or lesson do you think
The authors.
yeah, the authors trying to convey with this story.
That particular story, as you know, it's a detectives type of story. And detective
Yeah,
stories
yeah.
tend
Finish
not
and
to have a
problem
message.
solving.
It's more like a
Yeah.
puzzle, right? So some of the
Yeah.
stories, like you saw with like Where's Lorena, that has a message to it, which is be responsible. Or the
Yeah.
book in front of you, you can just see it's called I Always Win. That's the middle book in
Yeah,
front
I
of you.
always win this one.
So that is also about fairness and about cheating and the price of cheating, right?
Yeah.
So there's a kind of message that goes through many of the books, but not that
Yeah.
particular one. That's a mystery, yeah, detective.
So we can get conclusion from here, like your story about Where's Lorena that I have read. So teach us about family, responsibility, and forgiveness. Like we totally understand now, and yeah. And after that, thank you for reminding us to the power of simple story but meaningful lessons in life.
Yes, let the student decide what they want to read at their level, yeah? Not your decision, it's their decision, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, and the Golden Monkey, like it's a solving puzzle, which is I really a big fan on it. I
Good.
appreciate. Thank you so much.
My
for
pleasure,
reading
my pleasure.
book. After hearing your insight, I believe many readers, both children and adults, will see themselves in your character. Thank you for
Mhm.
giving us this story and inspiring us to care more deeply about family.
Good.
Yeah,
Well, please
awesome.
pass your passion on to your friends. Pass your passion on to your
Yes.
friends. I can see
I
that.
will.
We would like to ask
I-
our friends too.
Yes, please do. But as I say, one problem that you might face is if you're too enthusiastic, then sometimes people feel like, it's like a salesperson trying to sell you something. So just,
Different energy.
Yeah, different energy.
yeah, just slightly different energy. Just sort of say, hey, why don't you try this? More like rather than encourage them to read, it's more like, hey, if you're having struggle with reading, can I help? Here's a book that I found useful. Maybe approach some people more as a helper rather than a kind of motivator. That might be another way to do that, right? Yeah.
Okay. Oh, once again, thank you so much
My
for
pleasure.
Mr.
My pleasure.
Wearing. Like we are so honorable to have you here. Such a good work. We
My
are
pleasure. My
happy
pleasure.
this show.
Mm.
You are the author from Where's Lorena and the Golden Monkey, and there's many other books that you have written. It's sad because we are still curious about you, but we need to finish this.
Yes, you have classes to do. Yeah.
Times,
Okay.
and yeah,
All right.
I want to
All
say
the
this.
best.
Yeah, I want to say this to all of my friends that, yeah, student ones that if you haven't read this book, these great books, you need to check it in our library. And thank you for listening. See you in
My
next episode.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
thank you. Thank you very much, ladies. Thank you.
Nice to
Thank you,
have
Bu
you
Martini.
here.
Yeah. Hi.